Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to be taking a look for the second game, which is Develop with a Threat. Here we're going to see Paul Morphy versus Theodore Leckenhind, and he's definitely going to be licking his hind. Here we go. We start off with e4, e5. Morphy always likes to start off with e4. And he goes pawn f4 here with the King's Gambit. Although I won't really suggest that you guys play this opening just yet, it's really cool to see how Morphy is able to play very aggressive openings. But again, concentrate on main ideas. Control the center, get your pieces out, and castle. With the King's Gambit already, you have to know it very well because you're moving your f-pawn, which will allow the queen to h4 check. Well, this is a free pawn right here, so the best way to beat a gambit is to accept it. E takes f4, very good move. Here, we can already start looking at the idea, develop with a threat. What do you play here? Queen h4 check is already being threatened. How do you develop a piece and threaten to take it back? Remember, develop knights before bishops. Simple chess right now. It's knight to f3. Black plays pawn d5, a very good move, trying to get rid of this only pawn in the center and helping develop his light square bishop. Well, we have two ideas here. We can either take or move the pawn forward. In this one, Morphy just goes ahead and takes, because he was assuming that the queen would take back and we can get a free tempo by attacking the queen. And a free tempo in chess is just whenever you get a piece out, just like when you're playing music. This is just one move, and here white's attacking the queen, and they've got a free tempo because they got their knight moved out for free, because the queen needs to move itself twice in the opening. But here black had different plans and instead plays bishop to e7, developing with a threat. Remember, after every move, ask yourself, what is my opponent's threat here? Well, hopefully it wasn't too hard to see. The queen and bishop are lined up over here, and they're looking at attacking on h4 check. And this check is particularly hard to stop because, well, we can't go g3 because they'll just take. And, well, I guess there's nothing else to block with, so we'd have to move our king. Definitely something we don't want to do because we don't want to lose the right to castle. Well, after we look at our opponent's threat, we look at our own ideas. What are we doing here? What's the next piece we want to move? Well, you should be thinking about trying to bring out the knight and bishop as soon as possible. That's the system I teach. In this case, it's the bishop. The next thing we look for is develop with the threat, checks, captures, and threats. And here, hopefully you saw the move, bishop to b5 check. A very nice move here. Well, if black's not paying attention, they can get into a bad position real fast. For instance, let's just say black plays something like bishop d7. Well, here Morphy be very happy. We'll just trade. It doesn't really matter how they take back. Let's just go queen takes. We can go ahead and castle. And now white has completed their kingside castling. Here black still has a lot of pieces asleep. And, well, white's going to be getting a very good game here because they're so ahead in development or bringing out their pieces. Black played the best way, though. Instead of trying to block, with the bishop, he plays pawn c6. Now, this seems a bit strange. So, well, if we don't take here, we're losing the pawn. So, pawn takes. And now for the best move here for black, pawn takes again. Why? Again, if you play something like knight takes c6, we're just going to go ahead and take, and then castle. And then here white is again doing very well because we've finished our development, and black is going to take a little while here to get the rest of the pieces out. So in the game, b takes c6 is played, and now we need to move the bishop. Where should we move the bishop to? Hopefully found the best square. Here we're going to move it to c4. This attacks the weakest pawn next to the king for black. Here there's only one defender here. Here we're going to see Morphy create amazing amount of tactics with this one weak square. Black continues with bishop h4 check, and here we get that idea. Well, we don't want to play g3 because they'll just take, and we're going to lose a pawn for no good reason. What do we do here? If we move our king, we won't be able to castle. Here Morphy's able to problem solve this very nicely, and he plays the best move in this position with g3. Wait, we said not to play that. Well, we didn't look through the whole way if you didn't calculate at least 2-3 moves ahead. Well, if black doesn't take, they're just going to be losing some material. So takes, and then here's the move that you have to calculate. What does white play now? We don't take back, as we saw. If we do take, we're going to be losing the right to castle. Instead, Morphy plays the amazing move, castles right here. Pawn takes on h2 check, and king to h1. Beautiful. We lost our whole king side here, but look at Morphy. His pieces are ready to attack, and he has 3 pieces ready to go. Here, black only has 1 piece out, and, well, amazing enough, you can already make the claim that black's king is far further unsafe than white's king. Notice how white did not actually take the pawn here. This is what they call the umbrella pawn. Just like when the rain comes down, we hide underneath the umbrella, just like this pawn is. Remember, black cannot capture their own pieces, so if they do attack over here, well, it's not going to do too good because they can't capture their own piece. If we do take with something like king takes h2, you can see there's checks that can come in here very fast, and there's nothing to hide behind. So we're actually going to use our opponent's pawns against them. King h1 gets played. Black played bishop f6, getting away from the captures over here, as there was a slight threat to capture and then take on f7, and the bishop's trying to block the rook from attacking on f7. Block it how? Well, here Morphy plays an amazing move, which will go into this answer. How was this rook getting ready to attack? Here Morphy plays the astounding move, and I won't say if you want to, if you want to try and find this move, go for it. This move is pretty hard to find. Knight to e5, oh my gosh. Here it looks like, wasn't this just a free piece? Taking it will get you into some trouble, as we'll see in the following variation here. This is probably the best way to play, but again, when you're playing against someone like Morphy, you probably don't want to be challenging too much whenever he's trying to attack you. You want to get your king to safety and run away. Well, black went ahead and accepted this. He did see that f7 was being attacked twice and he only had one defender, so he makes a very logical choice here, decides to develop his last piece so he can get rid of castle and defend on f7. So black goes ahead and plays knight to h6, and now a beautiful move here by Morphy. What's the next thing we should do? Let's keep developing our pieces. Let's keep making threats. This is a very cool move. Let's see, what did you say here? He said knight c3, not a bad idea. I just don't know what the threat was that you're making. Remember, bishop takes e5 is still a threat here. Here, Morphy plays pawn d4. Wait a second, how is this a threat? Well, we also have the discovery attack of bishop takes on h6 here, removing the defender for f7. So now we get attack on f7. Isn't that cool? We control the center, defend our piece, and make a threat. The more ideas you can put into one move, the stronger your chess game is going to be. Well, here black can't take it anymore. He goes ahead and takes. And this is the move Morphy had planned. What do we play here as white? Well, hopefully he did not play d takes e5. Uh-oh. If you play this, you are losing very fast. Why? After queen takes d1, rook takes d1. Well, at this point you've gone into an endgame, and black is just up so many pawns that with a good chess player, black is going to be winning all these chess games. Your queen is one of the most important and strongest pieces to attack with, so we don't want to trade off. Now, earlier I mentioned if the bishop had taken for free when the pawn wasn't there, what would white play? Same idea here. We're not going to take back, but we're going to move this queen and make a double threat. What is our double threat here? Hopefully you found it. It's queen to h5. What a beautiful move. Here, we're going to be attacking on f7 and the bishop on e5 here. Black plays the best defense here, but later goes awry. It's so hard to attack. I mean, it's so hard to defend. Attacking is so much easier, so it's very hard for black in this game. There's already bishop takes h6 threat, so that we could play queen takes f7 checkmate. Queen takes e5 is a way. What do we do here? Black played one of the best tries, queen takes d4. Not only does this win a pawn, it defends the bishop and even makes a threat to take on c4, which then threatens the rook. The tactics are getting crazy right now, but they're going to be in favor of the attacker, especially when the king is vulnerable. Well, isn't white's king vulnerable? It definitely is a little bit vulnerable, but one of the most important things when you're playing a chess game is whose turn is it? And right now it's Morphy's turn. We're going to see that there's no opportunities for black actually to make any good threats. Well, how do we continue from here? Remember, checks, captures, and threats here. Here we have a nice check. We're going to start off with bishop takes f7 check, knight takes, queen takes check. King goes back to d8. Of course, we can't take as the queen is being defended by the rook. And now, let's keep up the attack. What do we play now? Develop with the threat. What's the next piece we want to move? It's the bishop. Hopefully you found it. Bishop g5 check. Black is pretty much forced to play bishop to f6. Only good way to defend. Alright, white to move. What is the best move here? This will throw off a lot of people. Alright, here we go. What did you play in this position? There's quite a few cool ideas here, but believe it or not, the best move here is develop with a threat. Knight to c3. How does this develop with a threat? Anytime you see your opponent's king and queen on the same file, we always want to try and pin it and win it. In this case, with knight c3, the idea is to develop another piece to help attack, but also letting out the rook, playing rook a d1, pinning and winning the queen. Wait a second, can't we take on g5? That's actually a very good point. This is probably the best way to play. Bishop takes g5. Rook a d1. Did we just lose our queen? No, we actually have bishop to d2 here. White's attack is still pretty strong here, but black actually has an amazing amount of resources in this position. Unfortunately, this was not played, although I have a feeling black would still be losing in this game. Instead, black went ahead and played bishop d7, which is a decent move, trying to develop a piece and also block the pin. Let's see. Was there any other moves that you guys considered over here after bishop to f6? There's two other moves you should have taken a look at. One is rook takes f6, which is an amazing looking move. Well, if we take back, we'll take back with the bishop doing a nice fork here. So why wasn't this played? Remember, checks, captures, and threats. If you played rook takes f6, this is a good idea, but unfortunately, you missed your opponent's opportunities. You should always be looking what your opponent can do. And well, if your opponent's playing right here, you're going to be a little embarrassed. Queen to g1 checkmate. That rook was actually guarding the back rank checkmate. You just got checkmated. I'm sorry about that. And, well, you can play bishop takes f6, g takes f6, but the only thing you've done here is help out black because you've gotten rid of one of your attackers. That's why playing knight c3 was the best move. It helps develop a new piece and also brings in more attackers. Here black plays bishop d7, and now that move that we just played is working because we have the other rook defending on g1. Simple chess. Rook takes on f6, and king to c7. Of course, as we point out, we don't want to play g takes, bishop takes, as that would be a very nice win for us. Black, the defender, is doing a very good job seeing Morphy's threats and trying to stop them. While the king went to c7, we got to get our pieces out of here. You can see that the rook's being attacked. Typically, we try to move the rook first, but here we have a better variation because we can start off with checks. What's the next checking move we're going to be playing here? It's not a rook move. I'll give you a hint. The king's on a dark square. Let's start bringing in our pieces and making those attacks. Here we go. Bishop f4 check was played. King to b7. And now we have a very nice rook move here. Try to make a threat every move. What do we play? Rook to d6, a double attack, attacking the bishop on d7 and the queen on d4. Again, it's just a sleeping army here, and white is just doing a great job. Even though they may be down in some material, they're going to be up as far as attacking chances. Plus, they're about to win some back, right? So, queen goes to c5. We could take on d7 right away, but never miss a tempo. Here, Morphy brings his knight in a little bit closer and also gets a tempo or a free move off the queen. Simple chess, knight to e4. Queen takes c2. Now, be careful. When the queen took the pawn here, they're also threatening to take the knight in check. So, every move needs to be a check, or you're going to have to move this knight away. How should we continue? Morphy decides to get back some of his lost material. Rook takes d7, knight takes d7, queen takes d7. Now Morphy's actually up here. Although the rooks are still pretty strong here, the knight and bishop are going to be no match against this king. This king is just so vulnerable, the game ends pretty quickly. King went to a6, and now, how do we continue? Knight d6 got played. What is Morphy's threat? Already there's some checkmating ideas. The only way to even survive in this position is to play something like rook a b8. Now this is a hint to what Morphy's threat is. Morphy's opponent did not pay attention to this and plays rook a d8, a very good standard move, which is developing with the threat. But now checkmate happens. White to move and win. Can you figure out the checkmate in 4? Alright, I bet you figured out the first move. The first one is queen b7, check, king a5. And here, a lot of people will mess up here. Feel free to take a second and look at all the different options here. Alright, there are a lot of different ways to win this position, but only one best way to do it, right? Here, if you thought pawn b4, sorry. After this, you're going to be checkmating. It's just going to take a little bit longer. There's just longer variations here for this one. Queen a6 check, and then the king can take on b4. It gets a little bit messy in these variations. Alright, any other ideas here? Well, there's two moves you should be looking at. Bishop d2 check and knight c4 check. Unfortunately, they both look pretty crazy, right? I mean, the queen could take on this one, the queen could take on this one. Here, when you get to these kind of positions, start mixing around and putting the ideas together. If you mix them together just right, you'll find the beautiful move. Bishop to d2 check. Well, how does this work? First of all, they have to take. If they don't take, they play something like king a4. Queen b4 is checkmate. Game over. So the queen must accept the sacrifice here. So queen takes d2, and hopefully you see the move now. Knight c4 check, forking the king and queen. King to a4, and now I hope you didn't get greedy and take the queen right away. Well, you could do this, but the game would go on a little bit longer. Checkmate in one here. What do we play? Actually, two different checkmates in one. Either one I'll give you credit for. I would use the pawn here just because, how often do you get to use a pawn for checkmate? In the game, though, he does play b3, but if you want to, you can go ahead and play queen to b3 for check and mate. Again, a very beautiful game just demonstrating developing with a threat. Here, Morphy did not even need to bring the rook out in this game. And, well, this rook doesn't get out in the game either. Well, I hope you enjoyed the game. I'll see you in the next one.